MTM Awards are always proud to be part of the community, and want to say a big thank you to Bristol Sweet Mart and Rashid Majoti for supporting the food bank appeal. Coming to get more donations from him, he mentioned that they're having real concerns about possible changes to St Mark's Road, so we thought we'd take this opportunity, get the camera out, go into the community and find out what the concerns are.
Hi, my name is Rashid Majoti. I'm one of the directors of Bristol Sweet Mart, which was founded in 1978 by my late father, Qasim Ismail Majoti, and Fatima Qasim Majoti.
Hi, my name is Stuart Phelps. I'm a core member of RAID, Residents Against Dirty Energy.
Hi, my name's Abdul Rauf Malik. I'm the chairman of Easton Jamia Mosque and the owner of Pack Butchers, both based on St Mark's Road.
Hi, I'm Leslie Wynne. I manage the community cafe which works out of St Mark's Baptist Church on St Mark's Road in Easton.
Hi, my name is Afdal Feroz and I am a founding board member and a trustee member of the British Board of Scholars and Imams.
My name's Vanessa Keir. I live just off St Mark's Road. I've lived here for 54 years. I moved in as a 20-year-old young mother. I'm still here because I love my community so much and it is such a wonderful place to live.
So Rashid, please tell me about your feelings on the current council plans.
It is of great concern. We're worried if as per the plans we've seen, although the council says that they're not definite plans, we are really concerned that if pedestrianisation came in and restrictions on parking, we wouldn't be able to operate the way we are, because obviously the changes need to come for the better, but businesses need to run, the residents need to be able to park their cars in the evening comfortably. There is sufficient plans that have been made by the university students and a lot of thought from other people. What are the concerns? We're talking about disability parking, the new scooters, charging points, and having loading bays and things like that. So there is a lot without encroaching on any sort of residence parking.
So, just talking about the council plans, I know that there was a survey that was put out as well. What are your feelings on this survey?
We feel the survey is very leading, and it doesn't really look at improving a street which has had the best award. It has some fantastic community. I don't think there's enough emphasis on the community and doing the street. For 28 years, this street hasn't had any sort of expenditure done. Even if you look at this potholes, we've got bollards which haven't been painted for 28 years. And being awarded the best urbanization street in the country, I think that speaks for itself.
So for 28 years, you've kind of, as the businesses and the residents, you've kept this street running, you've kept St Mark's Road going, and I get the feeling that now that the council has got some money to make some changes, one of the big grievances from what we consider to be this key stakeholders is not being consulted enough.
I think the engagement side of it was done wrong in the beginning. We found out through other sources that something is in the plan, and obviously we've had engagement from other different council members who've come in and assured us that they would obviously involve the businesses, the residents and everything, but I think the survey hasn't helped and the time scale is very unrealistic. If you're taking in consideration with COVID, if you're looking at other things that have been put aside for an additional 4 or 5 months, I think it's very unrealistic that the survey has to end this week.
And who do you feel is more pushing this agenda? Because in my humble opinion, it doesn't feel like it's the businesses or the residents that live here.
Well, we did a petition in the beginning, and we had just under 4,000 people who signed it. A lot of them are local. Some are people who come here for shopping, and from all over sort of Bristol area, which has not really been looked at properly. That recognised that the amount of people that have signed, and I believe there's about 350 people that had signed the other petition for looking at pedestrianisation and that. So I think it's a minority of people who really don't have a lot of business experience behind them. I'm sure they're good at what they do, but I think you have to look at, spending 43 years here and looking at the local residents that would be immediately affected with the changes. That's important. We live here. This is our livelihood. We employ about 50 people, which is nearly 250 people just for our own business. And then if you take the other business in consideration and the stretch the changes they're talking about, not a single business is for it.
So, as a local business owner, what is your final message to Bristol City Council?
I think we just need to sit down and put it together, and I think we can come up with something great. For example, what the students have come out with is something really good, shared sort of street that we would have, and the plans. And we've actually opened a kiosk, but obviously with the current COVID restrictions, and rightfully, we haven't been able to operate that. That's why we feel that time needs to be made for that. But my message is to the council that the community, you cannot put a price on the community.
So we want to say a big thank you to Stuart Phelps, the chair of the local neighbourhood planning group here in Easton. Hi, Stuart.
Hello.
Stuart, we're talking about the issue of the proposed changes to St Mark's Road, and as a local community member who's very active, you've got involved with St Mark's Community Group. Can you first tell me, what is St Mark's Community Group?
It's a group of people who come together to start with getting the best deal that it can for the area out of the current proposals, and then go on to improving the area and bringing the community back together.
And this is not the only local community group that you're involved in, and you're heavily involved in the community. Can you tell us a couple of the things that you do?
My role in the community group really is partly on the planning side, but also on the air quality issues, because I'm a member of a group called RAID, which is looking at air quality issues and monitoring across the city.
And through your research and the things you've learned, what are the key points that people need to look at when they're considering air pollution?
I think the thing about air pollution is to remember that there are two main sources of air pollution in the city. One is nitrogen dioxide, which is probably easiest thought of as the stuff that comes out the back end of a diesel, and the other is particulate air pollution, which is caused by burning things, solid fuels, wood, and the main problem in the eastern area is the wood burning stove.
When it comes to St Mark's Road specifically, one of the reasons that have been given for proposed changes are to improve air quality. Do you think this is an issue for St Mark's Road?
It's an issue for everywhere in the city, but when you consider that Stapleton Road, which is 200 metres from where we are, is an area where the level of nitrogen dioxide is commonly at or above the legal limit, as is Easton Way, which is not that far away from us. Those are the areas where we need to be tackling air pollution caused by traffic.
Why do you think we're looking at St Mark's Road and not those two areas instead?
Because the original agenda for where the council should be looking was set by an IT-based system which was not accessible to the majority of the population that live in Easton, many of whom don't have office quality IT. And so the council looked at the results from that and they said, right, St Mark's Road's been identified by a dozen or so people. We need to be acting there. If they'd used a system which was more based on their own information, like the air quality issues, like the traffic management problems, they would have focused on Stapleton Road and Easton Way.
And just as a final word, how would you recommend any proposed changes are approached both from the community and from the authorities?
Ideally, to approach it in the way that the community group has been doing, we've used a team from the master's programme at UE to put together a set of proposals which the community can then look at and develop and discuss and refine in the coming months, with the intention of enabling everybody who uses the street to have a better experience.
So I'm here with the chair of Easton Jamia Masjid, Abdul Rauf Malik, asking his opinion on the proposed changes to St. Mark's Road. Abdul, how do you think it will affect the mosque in particular?
So I'm a businessman that owns a business on St. Mark's Road, but also the chair of the mosque, but I'm also a local resident. And I feel that obviously any change that happens on St. Mark's Road has a significant impact on Easton in general. We have a large worship community that comes from BS5 and beyond, and a lot of people enjoy the experience of St. Mark's Road as well as attend the mosque at the same time. And I think anything that happens on this road impacts on that trip. And as you know, on a Friday we have a predominantly large South Asian community presence in the mosque, and a lot of people have a long relationship with this mosque. So some of them have moved from Easton, and they like to come back on that Friday to visit the shops, to visit the mosque. And obviously, if you start restricting traffic flow, if you change that, if you start to change the parking facilities in the area, this all has an impact on our congregation. But apart from that, there's the more pressing issue of the fact that we have on a regular basis funerals, and the vehicles need to come in and out at that very sensitive time without having to compromise individuals parking spaces. And I think that the mosque has always had a designated spot for those funeral vehicles, and in the changes that potentially were being proposed at one point, there was no consideration of that. And the truth is that as a mosque, we like to be involved with a lot of the conversations that are being had in the area, along with the church, the religious community, but also with the businesses, because we have a significant presence. Recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, as you know, we've stepped up our outreach work. The Grand Iftar is a major thing that happens on this road, and I think a lot of that comes about because of the good relationships with the council and the businesses and the religious communities. And I think in this conversation, what's happened that really hurts me is that we've had a breakdown of that kind of conversation, and it's so important that the good conversations continue.
And like you're saying, that's really important that the key stakeholders all have a good relationship, a good working relationship here. What would your message be to people that are maybe pushing for this change?
So I personally feel that up to now we've managed to have a voice in this process. It's been difficult, but it's been difficult because of COVID. It's been difficult because of the lack of understanding of these stakeholders, and kind of formalizing a process to have those conversations. So personally, I feel up to now, we've pushed our way to have a good conversation with people. And it was hurtful because we had to push our way. It would have been nice to have a conversation that would have involved us from the inception of this project. However, it's fine. We've been told that no plans are in place yet, that we are the authors of whatever happens, and in fact we will be asked and we will be consulted with, along with the other community, with the residents and the local businesses. So I'm pretty happy with that. I feel that we need lots of things on this road. We celebrate this road across the region. We celebrate it in Bristol, and I think that a better tarmac on the road, better lighting, better security, better street furniture, better ways of enhancing the way that the pedestrians move with cyclists and with the traffic, our vehicles, is really important. That this is a unique area where all three things coexist. We have cyclists, we have pedestrians, and we have vehicles, and I think that's something to celebrate. Across the country, there are high streets that we've played with, and when you get those equations wrong, there's a collapse of either community relationships or business. And I think it's so important that we hang on to what we've got here, and we try to make it even better. We don't want to change something that's good. We want to make something that's good even better, and that's amazing.
Hi Leslie, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today. As you've said to us, you manage the cafe at the Baptist Church, and you were explaining to me how the church is run by its members, run by the community. I've come to talk to you about proposed changes on St. Mark's Road, and how, from your perspective, from the church's perspective, what you feel about it, and how you feel we should be moving forward. So just very quickly, what were your thoughts when you heard that there were going to be changes?
I was really excited in some ways because the road needs some changing, it needs a bit of updating. Some things are cosmetic, but a lot of our problem is when it's not even just by the church, it's a bit further on St. Mark's Road where traffic gets stuck and held up. And so when people were saying we were going to be looking at possibilities of improving traffic and flow of traffic, everything like that on St. Mark's Road, I was expecting much more of that to be considered rather than, oh, it looks like they're going to cut the road off and you can't travel through these, what, maybe 50 metres where the shops are. And from there onwards, we've talked much more, and particularly in the cafe as a community, about what can we actually do about improving but allowing space for people to unload, but also that it's a pleasant place to stand, to talk, to sit, to chat on that whole expanse of St. Mark's Road, almost from the railway through. Over the years, the whole idea of what happens on St. Mark's Road has improved. We've become very much more a stronger community, certainly over the last decade, where other things have been happening. We've had a grand iftar, yes, but there's other things that happen along the road that people get involved in. And there is a real strong community feel, but above that, there is a community of people looking out for one another, encouraging one another, wanting the best for the neighbourhood through all generations, all races and all cultures.
And how do you feel any changes without a full consultation to the key stakeholders would affect the balance that exists already in the community?
I think whenever you've got a strong community or a good community working together, you need to make sure you hear from everybody. And that is from those who live in the locality, as well as the traders, as well as the worshipping centres. One of the things we always have a problem with, and experienced again, is when you have a funeral, how you get funeral cars or wedding cars along that part of St. Mark's Road. And some people have got to the stage of saying, oh, if there's a funeral on, there's no point in the rest of us even trying to get down there because of the traffic. We know there's problems, but we also know there are ways, we are sure, that we can work together to overcome those things. We just had a conversation in the cafe and people were saying, well, why don't we have some electric charging points out? Why don't we open part of the station incline behind and things like that? So people have started to think creatively rather than saying, no, we don't want this. It's looking at what is possible rather than, no, we're not necessarily happy with this, but can we find a way through that will solve lots of the issues and problems.
And finally, just as a message to the other key stakeholders and the council as well, how would you like to see this approached?
With much more conversation. I think there needs to be much more, and I know it's difficult at the moment about consulting because we can't all do what we would normally do. We haven't got a cafe open, the church is not open for worship in its usual way. The way that you would normally talk and share things with people That's taken away at the moment because of COVID. But I think we need to make sure people are heard, and that are heard in the fact that nobody is trying to drive plan A through, or plan B, or plan C, any of those, without actually totally discussing things with people.
Chef Rose, we're here talking about the proposed changes to St Mark's Road, a street in Bristol that you know very well. You spent a lot of time here, and you're an integral part of the community.
Yeah.
I wanted your opinion on how you feel the proposed changes have been approached by the council.
So right now there have been proposals that have been thrown around. Nothing concrete has happened. However, I can tell you that many members in the community, whether they are faith-based, whether they're residents, whether they're traders, have been shocked with the fact that there were some talks about pedestrianizing St. Mark's Road. As you know, St. Mark's Road is a diverse street that was voted the best street in the UK just last year. We have many aspects that make this street so special. Having something that will change the dynamics will obviously be detrimental, not just to the traders, but also to all of the other key stakeholders, which includes the residents, which includes the faith-based organizations, which is the mosque, the church that's down the street, and even the residents, that have come to know this beautiful street.
In your opinion, how would you describe the community cohesion that already exists in St Mark's Road?
Oh, this is a wonderful cohesion that you find. You won't find it anywhere else, at least in my experience in the UK. You've got people from all over the world. I think there are 80 countries with that are representing almost 100 different languages that all congregate to St. Mark's Road on special events such as the Grand Iftar, which is the opening of the fast in Ramadan. You have shops such as the Bristol Sweet Mart that have items from all around the world, and then you have members in Easton that are with various backgrounds, whether they're black, white, Caucasian, Asian, wherever you want to think about, they all converge here, and everyone lives as a family.
And how do you feel these changes will disrupt that community cohesion?
If the one of the proposals was to go through, which is pedestrianizing the street, which again has not been confirmed, but if this was one of the proposals was to go through, I would think that it would be detrimental to the traders, which make up the livelihood of the actual street, but it would have a knock-on effect with employees that actually live here, the families of those that are employed in the local shops, but also the local shops play an integral role in terms of investing into the street. You see that the street is very lively because you've got shoppers that are coming in and out. You've got traffic, through traffic where you've got cars that are coming down that come from various different places of the UK. I know of a family that drives almost 3 hours every 2 weeks just to shop in St. Mark's Road at Bristol Sweet Mart. So pedestrianizing would be detrimental to the actual trading community, which then would have a knock-on effect to the actual residents, and then the residents and also the employees that are residents or nearby residents. So it could have a detrimental effect on it.
And just as a final word, if you were the one who is leading any proposed changes, what would your message be in terms of how to engage with this very special community?
Well, the first thing that you need to do is you need to look at where the community actually comes in from, where it's funneled in from. So you have faith-based organizations such as the mosques, and they're just not just one mosque, that's on St. Mark's Road. There's another mosque that's down the street at Greenbank Road. I would get those community leaders and get those individuals that are at the mosque, the churches that are around, the Gurdwara that's there. I would get those, the faith-based leaders to come in. Also, look at the traders and stand at the corner of the street. Install a stall. listen to what the people on the street are saying, and also go door to door rather than doing consultations. Even though we're limited in the time of COVID, I would actually go door to door and speak to the residents on a one-on-one basis. Since we're in COVID and we arranged a Zoom conference call also before, I would literally have Zoom conference calls on a weekly basis, getting feedback from the actual community, proposals being put out so that the community can see what are the different proposals and letting the community decide on which way to go about.
I want to say a big thank you to Vanessa Keir, a long-term resident here just off St Mark's Road in Easton. Hi Vanessa.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here 54 years.
54 years.
I moved in as a 20-year-old young mother.
Fantastic. So tell me, what was St Mark's Road like when you first moved in?
Totally different to how it is today. Taxis wouldn't drop us off there because it was a no-go area. It wasn't somewhere you would want to walk along on your own, especially at night.
And what are your experiences from then till today and how the street has changed?
It gradually evolved into what we have today, thanks to the Sweet Mart and the Pat Butchers. We now have a really cohesive community. It's so good. It's more like family than a community. We're very proud of what happens there today. Very proud of the fact that St Mark's Road got the best street in the United Kingdom award. We are 35th in the world, and it's something that everybody should be proud of. I'm really proud when I see a photo of our mayor, Marvin, who has behind his desk a copy of the certificate that we received for St Mark's Road being the best street in the country. It really does make me proud to know that he appreciates what we did.
So, having said that, I get the feeling that you're a bit disappointed with the council and the way that these proposed changes have been approached. What would you say to that?
I am very, to begin with, I was very angry because the first time I heard about it was from my neighbour who had seen it on Facebook from somebody up in Scotland. And I couldn't understand how somebody up in Scotland could know about possible changes to the street that I live off. And we didn't know anything about it. And I'm also a little cross that they're trying to push things through while we have the COVID problem. Everything is in lockdown, and yet this week we received for the third time, and not by the postman, a card through the door asking us to fill out the survey. The survey is not as easy as people think it is. It goes on, do you feel safe? I don't know what we're meant to feel safe from. Safe from what? Which part of St Mark's Road? They don't actually state which part of St Mark's Road they intend to do this to. It's just so complex. And there's a lot of people in Easton who don't have computers, who speak English, but cannot read nor write English. And this has made things very difficult for them in the lockdown. And I do feel that the council perhaps should put this off until the lockdown is over and people can get out and about a bit more and get to understand exactly what's going on.
And just as a final message for anyone who's never been to St Mark's Road, anyone who hasn't had the experience of this community, can you describe it to us just very briefly?
It is such a good community. It's more like family. You walk down the street, people will talk to you. Everybody knows everybody. They will help you in any way they can. There's very few places where you see Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, Jews all working together to achieve a unity that is so different.
thank you so much for your time. I have said this to you off camera, I'll say it to you on camera. I can't wait till we get over this and I can sit down, have a cup of tea with you and talk a little bit more about your fantastic story.
Thank you, Junior.
Thank you so much. Thank you.